Today we have the 2019 Honda Passport, all new for 2019, completely different than the old Passport that you saw in the early 2000s. Well, this is the balance of on-road drivability with off-road capability. And I'm gonna give you a full review, look at the exterior, the interior, the cargo space, then we're gonna go for a test drive. Let's get started. This 2019 Honda Passport is what Honda advertises as its rugged mid-size two-row SUV. It'll slot right between the CR-V and the Pilot. Before I get started, I want to give a big thank you and shout out to Honda Cars of Rockwall in Rockwall, Texas. They were super generous to let me take this Passport out for you guys. If you're ever in the DFW area, please be sure to check them out and I'll put their information below. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. So starting out on the exterior, we have the Sport, EXL, Touring, and Elite trim levels, and right here is the Sport trim with the black crystal paint color. With the exterior features, you'll get LED low beams, LED fog lights. The mirrors on our particular model are not heated and don't have turn signals, unlike the higher trims. Now, this is based off of the Pilot, but it is quite a bit shorter. The Pilot is about 197 inches, while this is 190 inches, and the CR-V is 181 inches. Ground clearance with front-wheel drive will be 7.5 inches and up to 8.1 with all-wheel drive, which will give it a better approach and departure angle than the Pilot as well. And around the back, we have LED brake lights and a dual exhaust, which is pretty neat, gives this vehicle a little bit of a more rugged look. If you're curious about the higher trims, some of the available features on the outside that you will get by moving up in trim level will be power folding, automatic dimming, and reverse tilting side mirrors, an acoustic windshield, acoustic front and rear door glass to help silence the cabin, roof rails on top of the vehicle, and LED high beams in addition to the LED low beams that we have right here. Honda has gone all in on driver assist features, including their Honda Sensing. We get forward collision warning with automatic braking, lane departure warning with road departure mitigation, and that involves the lane keeping assist system, adaptive cruise control, automatic high beams, and then the EXL trim and up will get blind spot monitor with rear cross traffic alert. The top two trims will give you front and rear parking sonars, and then rain sensing windshield wipers will be on the top Elite trim. For the cargo space, getting into the Passport, our base Sport model has just a manual lift gate. You'll get a power lift gate on the EXL trim and up. There is a little grab handle up there. It is really easy to lift. It kind of lifts itself. And then there is quite a bit of space behind the second row, as you can see right here. It's a nice flat load floor as well. In fact, this is an optional mat that came with it. The loading height also is not that high. It's about medium, you know, it's not too tough to get anything up there. Each side also has a little tie down that you can flip up, as well as a hook on each side. And one really cool thing, check this out. You push the button, there goes the seat. Same thing on the other side, push the button, there it goes, nice and flat. Pretty much hands-free, don't have to do anything. It's a really flat load floor. And if any of you are actually gonna go overlanding or anything, or really camping out in this thing, it's a nice flat load floor. It's pretty wide right here for your legs, and you could definitely sleep back here all the way back to the front passenger seat. And you can move those seats forward to give yourself a little bit more length. Each side has a little storage bin right there, just like this one over here. But my favorite part about this area is we have this giant storage bin right here. One, you could put anything that's smelly back here. You could put wet or dirty stuff. This is a durable feeling material. And then there's also another storage bin right there, and you have your spare tire back here, as well as your little gas cap filler if you ever need to fill that up. This is laid out a lot like the Acura RDX. If you want to see that review, I just got done with that. But overall, lots and lots of space back here, and it's definitely a very utility type vehicle with this much space. All Honda Passports will give us the smart key system. That includes this key fob with push button start, including remote start as well. Let me show you how this works. So Honda has a button right here. You can push that to lock it, and then you can put your hand behind here and it will unlock. And it's as simple as that. One feature that we don't have that's available on higher trims is the automatic locking function when you walk away. Now hopping into the front seats of the 2019 Honda Passport, our base Sport model comes with these cloth seats. They are relatively comfortable. They're a little bit on the stiff side, and when I'm sitting up tall, I've got good space above my head. I feel a little bit of bolstering around my sides, which is nice. They seem to fit me pretty well. They are manual adjustable, forward, backwards, the reclining function, and then you can pump action up and down, but there's no adjustable lumbar support, which is surprising for me at a vehicle starting at this price point. Despite not having any lumbar support, these do seem to have decent shaping. The overall layout and structure of this seat seems pretty good. They hopefully seem to have a pretty nice durable material on them as well. If you really want to bump things up, you can move up and get leather seats that are 10-way power adjustable with lumbar support, and they're heated and ventilated, but no heating or ventilation on this sport model. Also, you can get memory settings. We have a manual tilt and telescoping wheel that has a pretty decent range of motion. I've had no trouble with that. And the passenger seat is 4-way adjustable no matter what. All right, let's take a quick look at the interior of the vehicle. Now, since this is the base model, and I will probably be getting one of the higher end models for a week for a full long review, I'm just gonna kind of briefly go through all this stuff with the lower end features. But anyways, we still get a nice soft material up here where you might want to rest your elbow, soft material next to your arm, soft armrest. It's also padded, so nice layout right there, which is really pleasing. You've got a storage bin here. My bottle actually fits in this little holder, and then there's another bin right below. Pretty solid door slam. Honda usually has a nice door slam. You've got mirror controls over there. You've got your economy button. You've got your collision mitigation button, your traction control, as well as your road departure mitigation button right there. So you can control a couple safety settings right there. We have push button start in every single model. Foot on the brake. Now as we take a look across the vehicle, we have soft material up here, and as well as right around the stereo down here. This is definitely not the typical layout that you will see in most of them. Obviously, I'll tell you about the screen. The steering wheel itself is polyurethane, no leather wrap steering wheel on here. There are actually a couple paddle shifters on here as well. They're pretty small and plastic. Leather steering wheel once you move up in trim. That is one thing to note. Of course, you've got typical buttons from Honda, everything you need to control your radio, Bluetooth, cruise control, your information display up there. One nice thing is that even though we're on the base model, we still have a pretty large display up here. You've seen displays like this in other Honda models. The tachometer is actually up above right there, and a digital speedometer in the middle. Now we can scroll through a few things. You can decide what you want to see on the screen first of all. And when we go back, we can see our trip computer, an A and a B trip computer. Don't even pay attention to the miles per gallon. I've been idling. This vehicle's basically right off the lot, hardly been driven, probably not accurate whatsoever. So don't pay any attention to that. And then you can even see your all-wheel drive, the torque vectoring. And hopefully when I get this vehicle later on, if I get it, I'll show you how that works in action. But I'll tell you a little bit about the powertrain, but it'll put up to 70% of the torque to the rear wheels. So that is also pretty nice. You have the traction system for normal, snow, mud, and sand. That's part of the intelligent variable torque management system, which is only with all-wheel drive. And then in addition to that, we have our maintenance. There's going to be a little bit more stuff on here once you get into the higher trims, like a compass and audio and things like that, but you've got your basics on here. Now, this is something Honda's been doing in some other vehicles with their base models, is not adding their typical touchscreen. Let me know what you think. Do you prefer a simple screen like this? It's not touch, it's just a 5-inch LCD. Or would you like to have a touchscreen at the base model? This screen is easy to use though. You've got physical buttons, of course, your radio, your media. There's no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto on here. You would have to upgrade for that. But there is Bluetooth, an auxiliary port, 215-watt speaker system, and that does come, that's got 7 speakers, and it does come with a subwoofer. If we put it in reverse, we've got 3 different parts for our backup camera. We've got this one, which is wider. Push this button, and you've got kind of a straight on one, and then you've got a top down view if you're going to maybe tow or back right up to something. If you have it in the wide angle view, be careful because it can be a little deceiving on how close you actually are, so just be careful with that. Just below that, we get our tri-zone climate control. You've got dual zone for you and your passenger, as well as rear AC controls, and I'll show you those air vents back there. Everything is laid out nicely, easy to use. The toggles feel pretty solid as well. And one thing that we are missing is a heated or ventilated seat button, but we also have a storage bin, a rubber storage mat down here, no wireless charging in our particular model. Right next to that, we've got a 12-volt power outlet and a typical charging USB port. Here's Honda's push button shifter. It does take a little bit to get used to. Pull back for reverse, your neutral. And then you've got some different variances between those, so you can get used to it and distinguish between all the different buttons without having to look down. This is the drive or sequential shifting if you want it to be in manual mode. My bottle does fit in here really easily. That works well for me. And I'm a big fan of Honda's storage and center console systems. You've got a huge space right here. You can pull this back. You've got a little storage bin down there. And wow, that is really dark. That's better. We've got a 12-volt power outlet, an auxiliary port, as well as a fast charging USB port. So there is a fast charging USB port in here, which is nice. And then it's just a really big open area with this sliding storage bin. So that is really handy. And then some of you might like or might not like that Honda has these folding armrests. If you're kind of wider and your elbow wants to hang off, this might not be your option, but I personally like it. I think it's a nice thing. You just can't have your arm in the middle, but you and your passenger have your own. It's not ratcheting on here, but I would assume that once you get to the leather seats, you get ratcheting armrests. Honda does also give you a lock-in glove box for the Passport, just a typical size, not soft opening or lined. Our trim does not have the automatic dimming mirror or garage controls that are available. Also don't have the sunroof. We have a sunglass holder. There's also a conversation mirror, so you can look at your passengers or look at your children if you want to. The base model has a mirror, obviously, but we don't have a vanity light anywhere. You'd have to use the middle vanity lights. The entire visor itself does slide out though. And then if we want to look at visibility out of the Passport, go ahead and turn around. And those rear windows are decent size. When you look out the back, I don't believe the visibility is that great, but it's not that bad. You can move those seats down, obviously, for a little bit better visibility. Some of the things you'll be able to upgrade to on the higher trims available for the Passport will be LED map lights in all rows, garage HomeLink controls, automatic dimming rearview mirror, a heated leather-wrapped steering wheel, ambient lighting, 3 more fast charging USB ports, an 8-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as a 10-speaker audio system with wireless charging. All right, now we are in the back seat. So one difference is that this upper door trim is hard touch. Otherwise, you still get soft touch here and on your armrest. Couple of cup holders right there, storage space, and a little drawer right here as well. Up on top, you'll notice this little cutout. That's because on the higher trims, you can get a sunshade that you pull up and attach on each side of the back windows. Now in here, I've got really good knee space sitting behind myself at 5'9", and I've got pretty good foot space as well. These seats can scoot forward and backwards, so even with them all the way up, if you needed more space behind you, I still have enough space right here. Right in the middle, standard, are going to be those AC vents, a little storage bin there, and another little one down there. Higher trims can give you 2 more fast charging USB ports, but we don't have them on the base model. Another thing you'll notice is that in the middle, we have a flat load floor, and there's enough space for some feet, so people can sit in the middle without much trouble. We also have a center folding armrest, 2 really small bottle holders right there. I suppose just bottles would probably fit in there, or maybe cans. And then when I'm sitting up tall, I've got pretty darn good headroom in here. There's no sunroof or moonroof. I'm not sure if that would cut into this headspace, but I've got a lot of space, and these seats can recline a little bit, so that's just an added bonus. Under the hood for the Passport is the same engine you get in the Pilot as well as the Ridgeline. It's a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 that's direct injected. Power will be 280 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque, and that's paired with the retuned ZF 9-speed automatic transmission, and that is the only powertrain option. The Passport's miles per gallon is actually a little bit less than the Pilot's, and it's a little bit more capable off-road as well, so there's a little bit of a balance with that. Miles per gallon on front-wheel drive models will be 20 miles per gallon in the city, 25 miles per gallon on the highway, and 22 combined. All-wheel drive will knock that down 1 mile per gallon each way. You get a 19.5 gallon fuel tank. The all-wheel drive models, like this one that we have right here, will give you the intelligent variable torque management system for the all-wheel drive, and it can put 70% of the torque to the rear wheels and 100% of that to one wheel or the other. And if you're going to be adventurous with this vehicle, just like the Pilot, you can tow up to 5,000 pounds as long as you have all-wheel drive. All right, thank y'all so much for sticking around for the test drive. So this is the first time that I have driven the Passport, but I have driven the Pilot before with the 9-speed. And right off the bat, my first impression is that this is definitely a comfortable vehicle to drive. It's really pretty darn smooth. And it's supposed to be really smooth. That's the thing. They want the on-road driving behavior that you want of something comfortable, but still with the ability to go off-road occasionally. Throttle response right off the bat is good. It's a naturally aspirated engine. It's not a turbo, so it's not going to give you a big boost right away. That's one thing. The braking in the Passport, this is a dealership vehicle, so obviously I can't be stomping around on it. But if I get one for a week, I'll be able to test it out more and spend more time with it and do a more detailed review. But off my impression, the brake feels good as well. I mean, this feels just like a Honda. It has a solid feel to it. It drives easy. The steering is fairly light, and it's just a pleasant vehicle to be in. The actual steering feel isn't too bad. It goes right where you want it. The steering is light enough. I'm sure this is easy to park. And the throttle response seems pretty good. The transmission seems to respond pretty well. I honestly wish that this had the 10-speed transmission from Honda that I've driven. I feel like that is very smooth, but this is just basically a carryover from the Pilot, which has the 9-speed. Now, if we give it a little acceleration run here, it'll get going pretty quick. And we have all-wheel drive, so traction is going to be good. You're not going to be spinning your wheels, obviously, and most people aren't going to be driving their Passports like this, but it's got some pretty good power. One thing to know is that it does have active noise cancellation, just like the CR-V. You get acoustic glass on all 4 windows once you move up to the top trims. This does not have the acoustic glass though. Now, Honda sensing is at work right away. My lane departure is going, and it's showing me right there, and it actually kind of helped me nudge, and now it's telling me to steer. But Honda sensing, from my limited experience with it, has been pretty impressive. If I do get this for a full week, I'll get decibel ratings on my highway and interstate runs to see how the cabin noise is. But first impressions right here, it's a smoother road and a windier day, is that it's pretty quiet. I'm happy with how quiet it is. This doesn't feel quite as big as the Pilot does, because it's not. You can feel that when you get behind the wheel. And the overall ride comfort is good. It's very smooth. It soaks everything up really well. Get a little bit more of a turn right here. There's not really any body lean necessarily, and that's not a fast turn, but getting on the brakes a little harder. They have a very nice feel to them. They're not overly sensitive. They're not too soft to be uncomfortable. And the transmission responded pretty well, just accelerating out of there. If any of you own a Passport, I would love to know if you use it for utility or for going off-road, and if you do, how well it does. If you've towed with it, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Now with the U-turn, it's got a pretty darn good turning radius, and that steering wheel is really easy to turn. If you are just like if it's a mall runner, parking lots are probably no problem with this, because it's not that long, 190 inches, and it's pretty nimble. Now I'm going to put it in the S mode, the sequential shifting mode. We're going to check out these paddle shifters and see how they go. Not my favorite. Don't use the paddle shifters on here. Don't use the paddle shifters. I shifted early and it was just delayed. So, you know, that's not what it's for. But you can put it in S mode and it's still a sport mode. It'll hold the RPMs up a little bit. We're hugging the corner pretty we obviously we don't have a race car, but you can see where the torque goes when you're cornering, which is pretty cool. I've got it back in drive, which is what most of you will have it in just about all of the time. On a short run like this, it's hard for me to get a real good sense of the behavior of the vehicle. But like I've said, my first impressions is that it's a smooth riding vehicle. It's comfortable. It seems to be pretty quiet. I haven't had it on a rough road or anything. Hopefully we can maybe go off road in a longer full review later on. I want to thank y'all so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I do have a review of the restyled 2019 Honda Pilot, 2019 Honda CR-V as well. Something that some of you might cross shop this with, like the Chevy Blazer, the Ford Edge, just a couple other things, and a Toyota 4Runner review. If a couple of you would even, go for something more off-road rugged like that. A big thank you to Honda Cars of Rockwall. I've got their information down below in the description. They've been with me since the beginning, letting me take vehicles out whenever I needed to show you guys. So be sure to subscribe and leave a thumbs up if you like this video. Leave your comments down below, and hopefully I can get my hands on one and show you even more detail. Thank y'all so much, and have a great day.